So I thought I'd do one more little in-between video before actually rendering out. And this has to do with the length of a composition. So you'll notice that when this got built, this composition scrolls out to be 44 seconds. And that, you know, conveniently is working right now. But there's going to be times where you need to extend a composition, and you'll notice here that it's just really difficult to do that. So for example, let's pre-compose this next set of layers. So this part where he's waking up, because I have an audio file that goes too long, right? So the audio file that's going to go for these layers is going to go for too long. So let's just come in, select the layers that I need to pre-compose. I just am going to verify. Yep, so I want it to be before the pearly gates. So right click, pre-compose. Pre-comp 2 is fine. It's going to go ahead and go open that composition up for me. If you do yours and it doesn't have this checked, which isn't checked by default, it'll just show up on the timeline. Let me show you. I'll have it selected like this, press OK, and you'll notice it just shows up on the timeline. You can double click and it'll take it into the composition. Okay, so this guy is ending up playing for this distance. Notice that the initial time here is set to 11:09. That's its beginning time because that's where it starts on the main timeline. But we can make some adjustments. Anyway, I'm going to bring in the audio for this. So as we're looking up here, I have this audio called Wake Up. So I'm going to bring and drop this in. And if I just play this, you can see that the audio isn't completing before the scene is done. Just to call this a scene, the composition is done. So I need to extend this out a little bit. So to do that, there is a keyboard shortcut to trim in. It's Control-Alt-B. But I was hoping I could trim out, that it would go out that distance. So it's probably just my lack of understanding of After Effects. Maybe there's one that would extend, but here's how you can do it otherwise. I just go up to the menu. So I'm up at the main top menu, go down to Composition, Composition Settings. And down here, you can see here's information. So I can start the time code if I don't like starting it at 11:09, I could set it just to 0. Notice that the duration here says 7, so I'm going to just set this to something like 14. So 14 and OK. So I'm basically making this twice as long. And if we come back here now and I scrub, notice it keeps on going, right? So here's the whole thing. Let's just scrub this and see how long it is. Actually, let me play it out.
Oh, where am I? What's going on?
So I already know that this is going too long, right? There's a lot of stuff happening here. Now I could speed up the audio, but for right now, let's just leave audio alone because I don't want to make this about audio editing. Frankly, I want to deal with the animation side of it. So let's just scrub this again. And again, if it helps, I can press LL twice, right? And see where it is on the timeline. And if I hold down Control, because I'm on a PC, or Command on the Mac.
Where am I?
Right, so right about there, I could set the out point for this. And again, you set the out point by holding down Alt or Option, and then right bracket, and that trims that in. So there we go. We've got that out point set. I can now trim this composition, the work area, to this area. So let's try that little trick again. So Control Alt B. Notice how it zapped in our work area. So now our work area is a little longer. Remember, our work area before ended up around 7 seconds. Now it's 3 seconds longer. But I've gotten rid of the extra time that was in there, right? So now I just need to be able to extend these guys so that they would, so he'd look around a little bit. So I could do some things like make him look around a bit more. So maybe have him, I like the blinking thing, so maybe we'll do that again. So I'm just going to select that, Control C or Command C, Command V to make another one. We'll just move this down at the bottom so that I can kind of remember that. I'm going to hold down Shift and just drag this over to that last frame and drag this over. Let's see what it looks like here. And so he blinks again, and then I'm going to have him open his eyes, and let's see what this little control thing says.
Where am I?
Yeah, I kind of like it. Let's have him open his eyes again. So let's come back to where right there. Let's have number 7. Just gonna Control C, Control V. All right, and here's, instead of dragging it over, let's remember our keyboard shortcuts. I'll drag this down. I'm gonna just hold down Shift, bop, bop, bop. There we go. And if I press left bracket, not Alt left bracket, I'm not setting the endpoint, just left bracket, it zips it over there. Good. And then we just want this to stay on for the rest of the time. So gonna shift over here. I'm just holding down Shift and it goes to the end. And then with that layer still selected, if I press Alt right bracket, remember that sets the out point. There we go. So now I have this kind of pre-composed. I've adjusted for the layer length. I've made it longer. Let's go back to the animatic, and you'll see that now that I've made this longer, I have to make some adjustments, right? So let's close this up. Select these. Just gonna drag these over, and I'm holding Shift so it snaps to the end. And now you can see that the length of my animation has gone too long. My original frame time, 44 seconds, is too short. So I'll just do the same trick I did before. Come up to Composition, Composition Settings. And in here, let's just give this some more time. By the way, this is way too long for this particular project, right? We want to be between 20 to 30 seconds. But this is still useful. It's good for me to kind of know how long things need to realistically work. Okay, so let me set this. You know, I'll just put in 1 minute here and 0, 0. If I come over, we can see how long that lasts, right? So here's our total thing. Our total thing's about 50 seconds. Let's just imagine that I've gone through and I've done the whole edit. So I'm just selecting all those layers again, and I'm going to press Control Alt B to trim to the selected layers. That brings that work area over. And you can see it now has the work area set up. So I would just go through composing do compositions where it makes sense. So for instance, the pearly gates one, you could probably just have audio in here and just leave it alone. But then for this little ring here and this interaction, that might be another composition. And then yeah, you could probably do this whole last bit just as one thing, because this is all pretty related. So you could do that, or again, you could put these into compositions, right? So you could pre-comp this just by selecting these items, coming in and choosing pre-comp. I'll open the new composition, right? Here's composition 3, and now I could come in and adjust it. And do all the same stuff that we were doing before. When I bring it back, notice that my animatic now has the whole thing. I can open this up a little bit so that we can see the whole thing. So now I have 3 compositions that make up the animatic. And by the way, if I make a new composition, if I come in and click this new composition button, I can just call this main. And we could have that be the same amount of time. Notice all of these things are good. We just want to keep with the same kind of settings that we've had before. So all that looks good. I'm going to just go ahead and press OK. Let's turn that off. And then that initial composition main, I could start by just dropping in the animatic, right? There's my animatic. Let me get that in. If I can get this in here. There we go. I can just drop it this way. And the full animatic now has all of the parts in it that I want. If I think I didn't have it stop. I don't think I trimmed it properly. So if I want to have it stop at 50, let's just page up a little until I get to that. There we go. So there's the last item. So again, we just go ahead and trim this. So Alt right bracket for the out point. And then with this selected, I'm going to just press Control Alt B to bring in the work area here. So now I've got my whole work area, and let's just assume that I've taken care of all the audio. The reason this is handy is because then you would just build your animations on top of this, right? You'd go in and you'd start building out all the other parts, and you would have this animatic layer that you could reference, and then when you were done with it, you could turn that off. I'm interested, if I play this,
blah 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 blah.
Notice that even with the eyeball off, I still get audio. So that audio would export. So you get all your audio set up, you put it in the animatic, and then you build on top of it with other compositional elements. So your audio for the animatic should be the finished audio that you're going to have for the animation. So this is the animatic. I'm going to pause here and then just go through exports.